Thank you, pretend audience. And hello to all my real friends out there. Hope everyone's had a fantastic week. Today is Friday, December the 13th. Excuse me, I know that because yesterday was December the 12th. It was Jack's sixth birthday, and we're having his party tomorrow. But we had a nice little dinner for him last night, which was fun. Um, and we also had some football last night. We've had a lot happen since the last time that we talked. The most, I guess, the biggest story in that time frame is the new coach in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and so I've got some thoughts on that. And then today we're going to do what we've kind of been doing every Friday for the last several weeks, and going to give some my perspective on these upcoming games and some betting tips. My just initial thoughts on how the lines look, who I'm taking, and you guys know that's been working out pretty well for me this year. Unfortunately, we don't have any college football this week except for the Army Navy game, which I don't care about. And I understand that there's significance, and there's this. I've never really understood the close connection between the military and football organizations. I mean, obviously, in this case, it makes sense because it's an actual Army and Navy Academy games, but I don't know. Anyway, but there is that one. Army's a 7.5 point favorite. I actually kind of thought that might be more given how well they've played this year and how outstanding their quarterback is. But yeah, we've got a lot of NFL action to talk about, though, and we can dive into some more of the upcoming bowl games and, more importantly, the upcoming playoffs. So, lots to talk about today. I will take a quick break, see if I can find a spot to pull over and look at my notes, and then I'll be right back. All right, hello, friends. Welcome back. So we are week away from the kickoff of the new 12-team expanded college football playoff, and the first game is going to be on Friday night. It is Notre Dame against Indiana. Notre Dame hosting Indiana, which it's Indiana. Notre Dame is in Indiana, so I don't know. But there's that's obviously a much bigger brand with a much bigger fan base for Notre Dame football than Indiana football. So I don't know that that really makes a difference for them too much. It's not like Tennessee playing at Vanderbilt exactly. But yeah, that one's a 7.5 point spread, which that must have gone down because I thought it was more than that when it opened, and yeah, I'm not going to do anything with it just yet. I don't think, but if it stays that way, or especially if it moves even further down. I'll be taking Notre Dame in that one. Which, by the way, I don't understand Notre Dame. It's such a strange. Hey, friend, sorry, I had several interruptions at once there. We had some road work going on, a dude with a stop sign, and I'm getting a phone call and notifications popping up. So, anyway, lots of interruptions there. What was that? What was I talking about? Indiana, Notre Dame, 1 week from today. Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. Notre Dame's just a weird thing in general. I mean, you've got an American football team from with a black head coach named the Fighting Irish for university in Indiana named after a French cathedral. That's a lot of stuff. It feels like they're very confused culturally to me, but I don't know. Maybe that's also maybe that's just a great example of the American melting pot that we've got the French, Irish, and African American, whatever. I don't know. But then again, you don't normally think probably of Indiana as a shining example of American diversity, but whatever. I'm getting off topic. It's always felt weird to me. I mean, why is this school named after a French cathedral, the Fighting Irish? It's I don't know. Anyway, but they I think will beat Indiana. But Indiana, eh, I don't know. I still don't know what to make of them. And that's really crazy that you've gone all the way through a football season and people are still not really sure who you are. I mean, that just goes to show the ridiculously weak schedule that they have played. The one team they played that was ranked, they got handled. So anyway, Notre Dame does play a tougher schedule, though, much tougher, and I think they'll be prepared. They're going to be at home, and I think they'll win that one. But I'm not planning on getting into all of that just yet. Um, But sticking in the college football ranks, North Carolina has a new head coach, and it is the 72-year-old Bill Belichick. This is one that I didn't believe, honestly. When all the news started coming out that they were considering him and that he was, taking the interview and all this, I thought, nah, this is just, this is him. You know, fishing a little bit and basically doing what John Gruden tried to do to Tennessee and well did do to Tennessee with that horribly run coaching search from a few years ago, where he's just teasing this college job to get a better offer from the NFL. That's what I thought it must be. But no, sure enough, Bill Belichick is going to be the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels, and that's, I mean, it's interesting. If nothing else, it's splashy, it's bold, and yeah, we'll see. And I've heard a lot of different perspectives on it. It seems like, excuse me, the prevailing notion among most of the mainstream media is that this is going to be great for North Carolina and that they're going to be successful. It's going to, honestly, my just gut reaction or feeling about this is that it is not going to work out well for either party. And I even said when all this really started heating up and it sounded like it might be a real thing that it feels like he can only do more to hurt his legacy than anything to help it by going to coach North Carolina. Now, as far as jobs that are available right now, North Carolina might be one of the best ones. Um, because I started thinking about it, I don't think any SEC jobs are going to be coming available, and if any do, it might be like Mississippi State or Arkansas. Um, one of these teams that's not one of the top tiers that of the SEC in the SEC pecking order right now. So, it would be even tougher. Whereas at North Carolina, you're not going to have as stiff a competition in the ACC, and it's a big time brand already. Although it's thought to be a basketball school, they've had some recent success with football, and so it's as far as college job openings go, it might be a little bit better than it seemed on the surface. Um, but look, there's really no precedent for this. There's no way to know how this is going to turn out because, to my knowledge, um, we've never seen anything like this. I mean, we've seen it before where really successful college coaches go to the NFL. Obviously, that happens all the time. It very rarely works. Um, and even the greatest college coach of all time, couldn't make it work. And now, the question was, could if he were to have given it a shot later in his career after he had all the success at Alabama, maybe, but who knows? Mm, But the reason is, it's not that it's so much. It's not just that it's so much harder in the NFL. It's that it's different. It's a different game. It's a different job, and we've seen some coaches that have been in the NFL go to college. I'm not saying that it never happens. I mean, I think Greg Schiano's still kicking around somewhere. Bill O'Brien's doing really well, I think, at Boston College right now, which I always thought he was a good coach. He was just a terrible GM. That's what got him fired. He never should have had that authority in the first place. But that's what brings us to. I think that's what appeals to Bill Belichick about the situation is nowhere. There was not going to be an NFL franchise that was going to give him roster control again. Um, but going to the college game, he is going to be the man. Everything is going to be up to him. So, that's the big difference, or one of the big differences between being a college head coach and being a head coach in the NFL. Um, my thing is, and there's so many layers and elements to this, but the biggest thing I keep thinking is that if he's going to be successful at this, he needs to do the opposite of what it sounds like he's going to do and what it sounds like people want him to do, which is bring in this great NFL coaching staff. That's not what he needs. This is not an NFL franchise. He needs to hire almost exclusively college coaches who know how to recruit, who know how to connect with 18, 19, 20 year olds, who know this game, who know these conferences, who know the sport. If he's going to start bringing in, all his guys from the Patriots, this is going to fail immediately. It just is. Mm, And that's because this is a very, very different thing. He needs to make sure that he is bringing in college coaches. Now, I'm not saying that he can't bring in his son, who is currently a coach somewhere at Oregon. Maybe he's a coordinator somewhere. Because he's now got some experience in the college game. And I'm not saying that he can't bring in some NFL guys, but he needs to build this staff of experienced college coaches. Now, do I think he's going to do that? No, because what is Bill Belichick known for more than anything? It's the Patriot way, right? And what is the Patriot way? It's essentially what Bill says. What Bill says goes. I mean, that's what was sort of his downfall towards the end. Also, losing Tom Brady, um, which, that's a whole other topic in and of itself, because I was of the mindset for years and years that, Belichick and the Patriots probably deserve more of the credit than Brady for those championships. And then Brady went to Tampa Bay and totally proved that that was not the case. And, now I firmly believe that Brady was the bigger reason for those championships. Um, but, we saw him try to force his guys. I mean, the best example of this is, and why I think he's not going to adapt well to the college game is because A, he's just not known for adapting, and B, you look at examples of him just being so determined to do things his way and bring in his guys. I mean, he hired Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to be co-offensive coordinators or whatever the hell they were supposed to be. Two dudes who have never coached on offense because they were his guys. So why would anybody think he's going to do it differently at North Carolina? And it seems like that's what a lot of people think he should do, is bring in all of his guys. No, that's not what he should do, because this is not the NFL. He needs to get a bunch of guys that know the college game, that know how to recruit, that know how to connect with these kids, that know how to develop these kids. These are not grown. These are, and I mean, look, I don't know why people think that he's going to immediately be successful, because it's obvious that he needs to, if he's going to be successful, it's going to depend on his ability to adapt and adjust and change. And that's not something that 72-year-old men who have been historically incredibly successful at what they've done in the past are known for doing. Changing is not something guys like that do well. So he's not just going to come in and coach a bunch of 18, 19, 20 year olds like he did the Patriots 10, 15 years ago. It's also a completely different culture now. It's guys don't really get coached hard in the same way. You don't see the dictatorship that you used to see, where it's just a different sort of culture, even in the NFL. I mean, we see the guys that are having the success now are the Mike McDaniel, the Sean McVay, the guys that are modern, younger, willing to, work with players and connect with them. Bill is not that. And that's even more true in college, it feels like. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think Nick Saban retired, was because the game was just, it was so different than what he was used to. It wasn't just NIL and transfer portal, it was also a different culture. So my gut feeling is no, this is not going to be successful. I do not think this is going to go well. Um, and I know that everyone is hesitant to disrespect Bill Belichick, who is one of, if not the greatest NFL head coach of all time. And I feel the same way. Look, I don't, but that's why I'm saying it feels like he's only going to hurt his legacy here because this feels very unlikely to succeed, in my opinion, for all the reasons I just laid out. Because it's a totally different game, and it's a totally different game than what it even the game itself is currently evolving over the last 2 3 years faster than it ever had, and everything's still changing. We still don't know what the landscape's going to look like a couple of years from now. And so, do we really think that the 72-year-old man who's been known for, above all else, doing things his way and winning the Patriot way is going to be willing to adapt to fit into this new culture of coaching, into this new system of, you know, 18, 19-year olds making a lot of money playing college football and transferring from one school to the next, depending on, I mean, it just this does not seem to fit at all to me. Now I'm not now there will be a lot of kids that this will appeal to. I'm not saying that I'm sure that this is going to be a total failure. There will be those that, want to go in and have the disciplinarian coach. That, that's what they've known in high school. That's what they've known growing up with their parents, and they want to be coached hard and they will want to stick with this. But it feels like the majority of the football player culture is not that way anymore. Um, I think he's going to have a hard time recruiting unless he does exactly what I just said, which is bring in guys that's their specialty. And again, Bill's known for hiring his guys. And if he's just hiring his guys, then they don't know what the hell they're doing when it comes to recruiting. And those, all those Super Bowl rings might be shiny, but can we really see Bill Belichick, sitting there in some, parents' living room, the parents who are half his age, trying to talk, about a 17-year-old high school kid that he likes? I mean, this just does not make sense to me. Now, again, North Carolina, I give them some credit for taking a big swing here and taking a big risk. And I also give them credit for the way they structured that contract, where they can essentially get out in the summer of 2025 without, much of a buyout. Excuse me. And I'm not certain of this, obviously. Again, there's no precedent for this. There's no roadmap. We don't see successful head coaches in the NFL go to the college game. We see it the other way, and that rarely works. But we've never seen a guy who's had this much success recently as an NFL coach. I mean, we've never seen a guy with this much success at all. But we've never seen, a Super Bowl winning NFL head coach go down to the college ranks. And it feels like one of the reasons he's doing this, I don't think it's just because the 72-year-old wants to take on a new challenge and turn a new page and open a new chapter of his life. I think he burned too many bridges, and I think that NFL teams are not going to want Bill Belichick in the way that we maybe thought that they would. I mean, I know nobody's going to want to give him roster control. That's why he didn't get a coaching job the last cycle. It's because GMs were afraid to hire him. GMs were afraid that even if he says he just wants to coach, he's going to come in here and he's going to have input and he's going to end up costing me my job. That's no different this coaching cycle. So I think Bill could see the writing on the wall that there just was not going to be the interest for him for an NFL head coaching job. And so he went and, he still wants to win, still wants to coach, and he's not, doesn't feel like he's done yet. So he went and is trying something different. Um, I don't know. We'll see. But this just feels. Also, I hate Steve Belichick, by the way. I mean, there has never been a more shining example of the ridiculous nepotism in NFL coaching than that douchebag being a defensive coordinator for an NFL franchise like he was under his dad for a couple of years. And that's, apparently supposed to be a package deal, and something that's appealing is that asshole being part of the staff. Which, okay, good for you. Let's see how that works out. But I mean, if he's bringing in, Matt Patricia and Steve Belichick and all his Patriots guys, this isn't going to work unless he also specifically hires recruiting people, people who maybe aren't position coaches, but they're just recruiters, which I don't really know why more schools don't do that. Why they don't spend more on just straight up scouts and recruiters. Maybe they do. I don't know. But you always hear about, the primary recruiters to these kids being position coaches. And that makes sense because those are the guys that they're going to be working with. But it feels like there should be some that are just straight up recruiters, just marketing guys, basically, just salesmen, Mm. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic here, but unless he's going to be willing to fully embrace the recruiting aspect of this, which means giving up control to somebody who knows how to do it, and unless he's going to be willing to adapt and change the way that doing things and done things in the past, this is not going to work. I just don't feel it. It just seems like it's not. But again, there's no way anybody knows how this is going to work because it's never been done before. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Bill Belichick. I talked longer on that than I meant to, as I am wont to do once I get going. So I'm going to take a quick break and we'll dive into some other stuff. Okie dokie, friends, welcome back. So, talked a lot about Belichick longer than I meant to, but anyway, there was one other topic I wanted to talk about briefly just before we get into these upcoming games this week. Watched I didn't I almost never watched the entirety of Monday or Thursday night games. Usually don't even watch the entirety of Sunday night games unless there's a real reason to. It's just I don't like staying up that late anymore, especially whenever I have to work the next morning. Kids have to be at school. But anyway, I did watch the entirety of that one because it was just weird. No touchdowns scored in a game between two of the best offensive minds in the business and two of the best offensive teams in the game. Um, and plus, I had the Rams money line there, and I was also watching it for a long time because I had Puka Nakua as the first touchdown scorer, which that never happened. Although it could have twice. If Stafford would have just put that ball out in front of him and Puka wouldn't have had to slow down on that one deep pass, or later in the game when they were kind of, playing 4 minute ball and Puka was wide open with nobody behind him, and Stafford did the safe thing and took the underneath throw because they were kind of just trying to run the clock out. But that was frustrating. But anyway, the point I wanted to get at with was this. I thought whenever the Rams did what they did a few years ago and went all in and made all those trades and gave up all those picks to get all those veteran players between Matthew Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, all those trades and all those picks they gave away. I thought, A, they better win a Super Bowl to make it worth it, which they did. And B, even if they do, they're going to be suffering for a while from this. But it will be worth it if they win a Super Bowl. But it's going to take them a couple of years to recover from this. But this team really it didn't seem to affect them that much. I mean, yeah, they're not nearly as good as they were at that point, but this is still a. I mean, they had like one bad year, I think, after they won the Super Bowl, and then they're right back to making the playoffs. And here they are, going to make the playoffs again this year. And if you look at their roster, it's not laden with superstars like it was in the during that Super Bowl time. It's not even doesn't even look to be one of the more talented rosters in the NFL. But that just goes to show what happens with the well-run organizations in the NFL. And I don't know how you emulate that because it's sure as shit's not something the Titans can figure out. But you look at the Rams. I mean, they've got a star quarterback who is declining. They've got a star receiver who's also very much declining in Cooper Cup, but another star who they just nabbed in one of the middle rounds that nobody saw coming, and Puka. They've got an offensive line that isn't full of Pro Bowlers, but is one of the better offensive lines in the league. They've got a good pair of running backs. They've got a good defensive front that they again put together through uh, late middle and late round picks. They, I mean, this is just what happens when you've got a good GM, a good culture, and a good coach. And the Steelers are the same way. These teams are just consistently going to be good. Mm, who else is like that? The Ravens are like that, but they are now. They are also full of the Pro Bowl talent and have a star-studded roster. Um, but they are one of those franchises that's just incredibly well run. Ozzie Newsome was somebody who I loved and hated the entire time he was there. I loved him because he was my favorite non-Titans GM. I thought he was the best GM in football for a long time, and I hated him because, well, he was for the Ravens. And um, and then they went from him to crap, I can't remember the new guy's name, but he's just continued basically the same sort of things that Ozzy did so well for so long. And these are just the well-run organizations in the NFL. And there are other examples, but those are just the ones that come to mind right off. It's the Rams, it's the Eagles to some degree, it's the Ravens, it's the Steelers, you know? And it just seems like it doesn't even necessarily matter what their rosters look like. Give them some talent, get a good quarterback. These coaches are gonna just win games and make the playoffs and have the potential to make a run and win a Super Bowl. That's just, I don't know how you copy that. That's good ownership, it's good front office management, and it's excellent coaching. I yeah, I don't know how you emulate that. But I mean, you look at the Titans roster. There's a lot of talent on that roster. It's one of the worst teams in football. Mm, I don't know. I mean, the Jaguars have some talent on that roster, one of the worst teams in football. Most of the time when you put a lot of talent on a team, they're going to be at least decent. Um, but it's like with some of these teams, if you gave the Steelers and holy crap, I Mike Tomlin, if you gave them our roster, they'd already you know have a significant. They might be the number one seed in the AFC right now, and that's even with Will Levis at quarterback. I think, who I am still sort of torn on. I was ready to throw him out as recently as a month or two ago, but he's just continued to show improvement. But I talked about this in the last episode. I don't know that I don't think Brian Callahan will be fired, and I don't think that I don't know that he even should after 1 year. But this has been a terribly disappointing year, and a lot of it can point directly to bad coaching. But you just look at these other franchises that are just going to be consistently good, well run organizations and put out successful teams, seems like no matter what. And the Rams are one of those. Anyway, I'm going to take one more quick break and then we'll dive into the NFL action from coming up this week. Okie dokie, friends, welcome back. So, looking at the lines for this weekend, we'll start off with my Tennessee Titans, who are currently a 5.5 point underdog at home against the 5-8 Cincinnati Bengals. I'm staying away from that one. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll put a few dollars on the Titans just so I'll have a reason to root for them. I've actually done that several times this year. Um, just so I'll have be more invested in a Titans win because I know now for the last several weeks in the back of my head at least that it's better for us to actually lose games. Um, so even though it's impossible to actually root for your team to lose during the game, it is a weird sort of conflicting feeling when they actually pull off a win. Um, but I might put a little bit on us, but that's just me. That's just so I'll be a little bit more invested in us actually winning a game. And plus, it's always going to pay off because we're going to be a big underdog. I don't think we're going to win it though, and honestly, I probably won't even do that this week just because the Bengals have always had our number. Actually, I got to take one more break because I got to pee. I'll be Okay, friends, welcome back. So while I'm stopped here, I'm just going to take a look for a minute and make sure I got these lines right. Okay, so yeah, we've got the Chiefs are a 4-point favorite at Cleveland. Now that may seem strange just on the surface, that a 12-1 team is only a 4-point favorite against a 3-10 Browns team, but Cleveland's been playing pretty well lately, and we know they've got a good defense. And if Jameis is playing good Jameis ball, then they can win. But I will take the Chiefs and the 4 points in that one. Even though the Chiefs keep winning these close games, it just feels like that's one where I don't see them messing around. And I see Jameis giving the ball away to that Steve Spagnuolo defense. So yeah, I'll take the Chiefs and the points there. The Ravens are a 16-point favorite against the Giants, and you guys know how I feel about spreads that big in the NFL. If I do mess with that one, I'll probably take the Giants, but I don't even know who they're going to have at quarterback. Probably Drew Lock. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say commit to anything either way, but I might throw that one in as a parlay with the Giants 16, or maybe even increase it to 17 and a half and throw it along with something. The Commanders are a 7.5-point favorite at the Saints. Yeah, that's another one. I don't think I would mess with. The Saints are a team that can, surprise you and pull an upset. And I'm still not believing in the Commanders just yet. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule. I think they're definitely going to be a contender in the next couple of years. I think that, Jaden Daniels is still a rookie. There's still not a ton of talent around him. And yeah, I don't believe in them a whole lot just yet. Um, the Panthers are actually a 3-point favorite against the Dallas Cowboys. How about that? That's weird. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. Huh. I don't know. I'm gonna have to dig into that one a little bit before I give you any advice or say what I'm gonna do there, but that's strange. I mean, I know the Cowboys suck right now, but I am surprised to see that the Panthers are a 3-point favorite against them. Yeah. Unless there's something that I just don't know about, then I'm going Cowboys there. Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be more to that, something I don't know about. The Dolphins are a 3-point underdog. Houston, that's one that I could see going either way. The Dolphins pretty much need to win out. If they win out, then they can still get in as a wild card. And so every game is going to be a big game for them. Houston, though, still, is trying to establish themselves as one of the better teams in the AFC. They pretty much got the division wrapped up already, but yeah, that's one I could see going either way. But Houston does play a lot better at home. Um, so I might take them in this one, but the Dolphins have their backs against the wall, and they are still a good team now that they're somewhat healthy. Um, the Jets are a 3.5-point favorite against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, Normally, I would take the Jags in that just because I love betting against the Jets. It seems like their lines are always like at least a point higher than what they should be, just because their fan base is so stupid and vast. But um, yeah, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is playing. As far as I know, they're probably shutting him down for the season. So yeah, that's one that the Jets might win. I don't know that I'm gonna mess with it. The Buccaneers and Chargers. Chargers are a 3-point favorite there. I want to take the Chargers there. In fact, I probably will, but I've lost on them the last couple of weeks. Now they covered. They didn't lose by whatever the spread was against the Chiefs last week, but I had them on the money line and broke my own rule there. But I'll take the Chargers with 3 points. The Eagles are a 5.5-point favorite against the Steelers. There's another interesting one because I wonder how much of that is George Pickens. I mean, you know that a receiver they say is not going to be worth, at least even a point. But given the connection that he's had with Russell Wilson, and given they really don't have much talent at all at the receiver position outside of him, feels like him being out, which he probably is, might have something to do with that spread. But the Steelers are the Steelers, man, and the Eagles are having their drama. And I cannot help but think what I'm sure a lot of other people are thinking, and what I'm sure has to be going through the minds of some of the Eagles staff and players and fans, which is this is about the time last year that they started collapsing, isn't it? And now there's all this drama going on with AJ Brown not getting the ball enough, Jalen Hurts not being effective as a passer, and I just can't help but remember how things went with them last year, where they were, one of the best teams in the NFL, come off a Super Bowl appearance, and just had the most epic collapse that I can remember from an NFL team over the last several games of the season. Could be if that's going to happen again, it would make sense that it would be this game with all the drama and the Steelers coming to town. So I don't know. I yeah, the rate just on the surface that should be a spread where I would take the Eagles with the 5.5, but given all the other stuff, am a little concerned that yeah, there might be something to that. And if they do lose this one, given all the drama, given what happened last year, they might fall apart again. So that's one to keep your eye on. Another one to keep your eye on. Why are both of those games at 4 o'clock? They're having maybe the two best games of the week both at the same time. What? Why? And the NFL scheduling is stupid sometimes. But then another great game against two other Super Bowl contenders. The Buffalo Bills are a 2.5 point underdog against the Lions. Buffalo's coming off of a loss, so you got to think they're going to be fired up for this one. But Detroit is just a juggernaut right now, especially at home. So I would probably take the Lions there, but that's going to be one that's definitely fun to watch. Excuse me. The Broncos are a 4.5 point favorite hosting the Colts. The Colts are another one of those teams that's just like hanging around mediocrity and that can surprise you. And I have just had trouble believing in the Broncos, but I'm not going to bet against them in this one because I bet against them, I think it was last week, and learned my lesson. Uh, and then you've got the Patriots as a 6 point underdog. Arizona, I'd probably take Arizona in the six. They're another one of those teams that's just sort of nobody's talking about, but they're hanging around. They could definitely still win that division. Yeah, that's an interesting one. The Packers are a 2.5 point favorite at Seattle. I'm definitely taking the Packers and those 2.5 points there. That's the Sunday night game. So, yeah, that's one that I'm very confident. I would be very happy to jump on first chance I get, actually. Now, this is the first time I'm looking at any of this. So, yeah. Um, and then they're doing, speaking of ridiculous, stupid NFL scheduling, it looks like there's another Monday night doubleheader, which just makes no sense at all to me. Why? What is the point of that? What does that accomplish? And I've talked about this a lot before. I mean, the whole point of having these primetime games is to feature this one game in a window when no one else is playing and the whole world's eyes are upon them. But then you do this stupid thing where you've got two of them on at the same time. And then on top of that, if you do choose one of the games to watch, every time there's a red zone attempt or something interesting goes on the other game, they're going to bring in this huge split screen thing and interrupt what you're trying to watch, even though you know what channel the other game's on. So if you wanted to watch that one, you would be watching it. But they're going to interrupt what you're trying to watch and bring in this stupid split screen thing anytime there's something going on in the other game. It's just a terrible, terrible thing altogether. I hate it. Anyway, but the Vikings are a 7 point favorite against the Bears. Yeah, I might, knock that down to 6.5 and take the Vikings there. And then the Falcons are a 4 point favorite against the Raiders in Vegas. I'm not going to take, I don't know. Yeah, I do not believe in the Falcons. I have not believed in them all season, and so I'm not messing with that one. If anything, I might, put a few dollars on the Raiders just because, yeah, why not? But I'm definitely not taking the favorite in that one. So anyway, just to recap what we've got here, I am going to take the Chiefs as 4-point favorites. Excuse me, against the Browns. Um, I'm gonna take unless I dig into it and find out there's something else going on that I don't know about. I'm gonna take the Cowboys as underdogs against the Panthers. They're 3-point underdogs. That Houston and Miami game's a really interesting one, but I could go either way there. I'm gonna take the Chargers with three, or maybe knock it down to 2.5 against Tampa Bay. Um, I'm going to take the Lions with the 2.5 against Buffalo, even though I really like Buffalo this year. It's just the Lions are the best team in football. And that every time I say that, it never gets old because it's just so fun, so funny. I mean, who is not rooting for them? That isn't like, an NFC North fan base, or that doesn't have a real reason to root against them. How can you not love what the Lions are doing? But anyway, I'm going to take the Lions. I might take the Cardinals in the six against the Patriots, and I'm definitely taking the 2.5 with the Packers at the Seahawks, and maybe 6.5, 7 for the Vikings hosting Chicago. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Going to take one more quick break, and then we'll wrap things. Alrighty, friends. I think that pretty much covers it for this week, or this episode. I hope everyone's had a fantastic week. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. We've got Jackie Boy's party tomorrow. Also, Mick Foley is going to be in the toy store at the Bradley Square Mall this weekend. So that's why we scheduled Jack's party for early. It's a 10 to noon party, which I know is really early for a kid's party, but the reason we did that is because we're going to go straight from there to the mall to see Meet Mankind and meet Mick Foley and maybe see Santa too while we're there. So anyway, we've got a big weekend ahead of us. Also, I'm sure we might watch the Army Navy game. Like I mentioned on that one, I think Army's a 7.5 point favorite, but I'm not confident enough to bet on that one. And then we've got a lot of football going on, and I've got a lot of schoolwork to try to up on somehow this weekend. I guess maybe sometime Sunday I'll have to send the kids to their Mimi's house or something. I don't know. But anyway, hope everyone's had a fantastic week. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll talk to you again soon. Love you. Bye.